Next, scan tab. Scan tab allows you to, as it suggests, set up scans, set up screeners. So if you have a certain screener that you like to use, you know, for instance, if you're looking for a pre-built scan, you could scan all stocks. You could even customize this and say, only scan my watch list, right? So if I'm scanning the penny increment options watch list, okay, which has roughly 300, you know, stocks in it, give or take, 323 actually. If I want to go down here and say, I want to look for, let's say, the last price, right? Not last size, last price. Okay, and I want to trade stocks anywhere between 10 bucks, let's say, and a maximum of 80 bucks. It narrows it down to 172 matches, right? So I only want to look at stocks that trade between this price and this price. I only want to trade stocks that have 1 million shares worth of volume. Okay. And let's say that I want to, let's see, anything else? Nothing here, nothing here. So that would be fine for my initial underlying screener. But then watch, if I just scanned, it would just give me the stuff that I scanned for. I just hit the button scan, and it gives me those stocks that I narrowed down, right? Now, what if I wanted to add another filter to it? What if I wanted to say, okay, only show me the ones that I'm going to use a study filter, right? Or a fundamental filter, right? You could look at earnings per share or PEG ratios, quick ratios, EBITDA. You could look at whatever fundamental indicator you want and screen for that. Okay, what if you wanted to study, like, I don't know, what if you wanted all the stocks that are, let's see, ATR, opening outside the Bollinger Band. Okay, absolutely, why not? Right, so let's see here. I've never scanned for those before, but why not? So let's customize this. Let's see if it's under here. Okay. So we would use not ADX crossover. Let's get out of that. Right. Where are, oh, licensed studies, popular studies, price performance, statistical, stocks, commodities magazine. That's funny. Long haul filter. That's funny. Interesting. There's a lot of stuff that you could actually filter for in here. Bearish candlestick patterns, bullish candlestick patterns, right? So you could do a lot over there, right? So yeah, going back and hitting that little pencil icon allows you to really customize it. So the ADX crossover is the one that it's asking to customize. I'm not really interested in customizing that one. I was looking to add a study. Whoop. I don't want to add the ADX. I was going to look for ATR. I don't want to customize that. Average volume. Yeah, ADX is the what do you call it? But I didn't see that in there. I didn't see that in there. I'm not seeing where you could study. Oh, there it is, ATR. There we go. So go to study ATR, right? 14-day average ATR is greater than, I don't know, 1 or 2, right? Save. Okay. Customize that, scan again, and it'll repopulate the list. Okay. You could add as many filters as you want. Okay. You could say, give me volatility that is IV percentile, right? which I would never screen for this necessarily, but I want to trade volatility that's anywhere between 50% and 84% on the daily implied volatility. You rescan for that and it'll repopulate the list. And what happens is the more things you screen for and really tell it to eliminate, this is going to tell you, okay, it's going to bring it down to a manageable list of stuff. If you wanted to look for stocks that are trading above or below a certain moving average, you can customize that in here. And you could save those scans so you don't have to rebuild them every single time. You could save them, save your scan query, and then that would just allow you to go ahead and recall that scan at any time, and you could run that scan as often as you want. And then once your scan results are done, you can move them over to the watch list, which then allows you to go down your charts and look at each one of those for another set of eyes, right? So if you like to scan or want to build scans, you can do that right here in this scan window. You can do that for option scans, spread hacker, which allows you to scan for spreads. By the way, I have never found value in scanning for spreads or scanning for options or scanning the spread book. These are other people's trades in Thinkorswim. What do you guys think the odds of all of the specific, Thinkorswim users, of all however many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of users they have, percentage wise, how many of them do you think are really professionally know what they're doing? A large percentage or not a very large percentage? This could be for Thinkorswim or any platform in any trading around the world. What percentage do you think, you don't have to give me a number, just give me low or high or medium. What percentage of people do you think know exactly what they're doing in a professional way and strategically make decisions, and they're really good at what they do? And you guys in the chat box are typing in a small percentage, a low percentage, and I would agree with you. A low percentage of people generally actually know what they're doing, right? Which is why I'm not just taking trades randomly from people on YouTube, which is why I'm not just taking trades randomly from people on Twitter or in Discord groups or in chat rooms. I don't know their background, right? Which is also why I'm not looking at the spread book to see what other people are trading, right? I don't really care what other people are trading. So this would allow you to see what other people are trading, but I don't really care what other people are trading necessarily, knowing that most people are generally quite bad at this skill, right? And so I don't use these scanning functions to scan for options positions, because the main reason I don't is, especially in the spread book or the ISE spread book, these are going to be all the option trades waiting out there working. But the reason I don't even scan for options positions is, and you can quote me on this, every good option trade starts with a good stock trade, or underlying trade, I should say. So options on futures, options on currency, options on stocks, whatever it is. So I wouldn't scan for the option position and then go back and look at the stock to see if the stock fits the option trade. It's the other way around, actually, guys. We got to scan for the right stock setups. Then on those right stock setups, look for the appropriate option position to take advantage of what we expect from the stock. So if I'm going to use a scanner for anything, I would use the scanner under Stock Hacker to find, potential setups in stocks, right? You could build your own, or you could use one of the ones that they have custom built in there already. Market Watch, again, gives you all your watch lists. Just another place to look at watch lists. What I mainly use the Market Watch tab for is where all my alerts are. So if you have alerts set up, this is where they're going to be sitting. And I'll show you how to set up an alert here in just a second when we get to the charts. So this is where all the alerts are. You can heat maps, right? I don't generally use heat maps, but if you do, here's your heat maps, and you can look at different heat maps over here. All your watch lists, so your public watch lists. So if you're looking at the penny increment options watch list, here's your heat map for just all of those. Financing rates, I've never actually even clicked on this. Not sure why I even care about that as much as I do the calendar, which is going to give us the earnings calendar. So these are your corporate actions. These are your Econo Day. I know a lot of people look at Econo Day for for their economic reports, or Forex Factory or FinViz to get their upcoming economic reports. This will give you a calendar of all that stuff in one fancy location. So it shows us dividends, earnings, conference calls, stock splits, Econo Day economic reports, futures liquidation, dividends. It gives us all of that stuff in one calendar. And you can search by symbol up here. So if you're wanting to know what's going on with Boeing today, there's nothing going on today. You want to know what's going on with Apple or GE, there's nothing, right? So I always just keep this just listed to open, and I scan to see, hey, what's going on today, earnings, what's going on tomorrow, earnings, economic reports, etc. Okay. Under charts, this is where I spend a large majority of my time. So just so you know, a large majority of my time is spent in not only the monitor tab where you're monitoring your positions, but also your analyze tab where you're building and analyzing positions, and your charts tab where you're analyzing all of your price action. That's where I spend 99% of my time in this platform. Okay. Your charts come with just one chart, right? By default, with no lines drawn on it. So do I have any lines drawn on Tesla? Oh, I do. How about Home Depot? Nope. So yours would pull up Home Depot for the first time, and it would look something like this, right? Flexible grid, so you can create a grid of charts, right? Some people like to create grids, and what's flexible about them is you can make some of these bigger or smaller than others, right? You can make some of these wider, some of them more narrow. So I like the flexible grid. And what you can do is, if you want Home Depot in every one of these, then what you would do is right next to any, and this goes for any box, any ticker symbol box in the platform where you type in a symbol, just to the right of the drop-down menu, we've already discussed this, you have this linking, this symbol link button, okay? This allows you to link to a specific color. So let's pretend you want to link this entire window to the same symbol, okay? You don't have to type in Home Depot every time. And then if you change this to, MetLife, then you don't have to change this to MetLife and then change this to MetLife. That'd be a pain in the butt, right? All you got to do is, if you link all these windows to the same color, purple, 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 watch what happens when you type in one symbol in any one of them. It changes all of them. Okay, symbol linking. This can also mean that if you're looking at a daily chart on one time frame, and then which we haven't gone deep into this just yet, but if you wanted to change your time frame, like look at an hourly chart, a weekly chart, a monthly chart, a 5-minute chart, you can set your charting time frame on any one of these charts to be a default or custom time frame, right? So if I want to come down here, right now, these are all daily charts. How do I know that? Well, in the top left-hand corner of every chart, it's Home Depot. I'm looking at 1 year's worth of data, so historically speaking, and I'm looking at 1 day, which is each candlestick or each bar represents 1 day's worth of trading, okay? So if I wanted to look at, say, a 1 hour chart, one of the default time frames is 20 days, 1 hour. I change this, 20 days, 1 hour. If I wanted to look at 3-year weekly, and I wanted to look on this chart at 5-day, 5-minute, those would be locked in place. And if I change this from Home Depot to the S&P futures, it changes all of the symbols, but leaves the time frame of the chart the same. So you can really customize how you look at multiple time frames on the same stock at the same time. And then again, this flexible grid allows you to change the size of each one of those grids. Okay. Lana from San Jose asks, where can I find the recording of this webinar on the Traders Army website? That's going to be under, probably under free trading videos. Free trading videos when it's posted. If I would like to set up a blank chart with no volume and indicators like Chuck Fulkerson's chart on Thinkorswim, how can I do that? Lana, this is exactly where we're going right now. So You are no longer named Lana. You are named Segway. No, I'm teasing. But it's a perfect segue, right? Because that's where we're going now, because we're on charts. But these charts are looking ugly to me, man. These charts are looking ugly. Like, if you don't want a bunch of indicators, if you don't want this grid that's kind of light in the background, if you want a dark background, if you want to change your candlestick colors, you can customize your charts and your grids to look however you want. So I'm going right now into that, Lana. Okay. So product depth, gives you, again, implied volatility information, open interest information, volume information. That's going to be all on your options positions. Again, primarily, I don't focus too much on this window, but if you're looking at different strike prices, different expiration months to see where higher or lower implied volatility would be, then this would be the window to do that in. Now, under your charts tab, you've got, again, your main one chart, right? So here's what I want to start with. Let's customize one chart first, and then let's go ahead and build a grid of charts. Chuck Fulkerson, one of our senior traders here at Traders Army, uses a grid when he does his daily market commentary every day, and that grid has 4 charts in each grid, and he has 4 separate grids that he monitors. I'm sorry, 3 separate grids that he monitors. So 12 total markets that he monitors on a daily basis in the daily market commentary. But before setting up any sort of array of grids, we got to customize one chart and make it look exactly how you want it to look. And then we'll save that chart setting so we can apply that really beautiful chart setting to whatever chart we want in the future because we've saved it as a setting, okay? So now we're going to click on what are known as chart settings, right? So chart settings are found by clicking on this cog underneath any one of the charts, okay? Going across all the settings up here on the right, you have share a chart. You have chart describer, which I've never actually really used, but it describes exactly what's on your chart. And then the next one over looks like a beaker, because it is. This is where you would add or remove studies. Moving averages, Bollinger Bands, MACD, stochastic, CCI, ADX, ATR, you would add studies to your charts, okay? The cog, the gear looking thing is chart settings, which we're gonna go into in a second. The next little drop-down menu is your charting time frame setup. So by default, it shows up on a 1-year daily, but you could customize the time frame you're looking at. You could look at time charts, tick charts, range charts. I always keep mine on time. Intraday charts, daily, longer term charts, and custom. Okay, and under each one of these tabs, you can customize how much time you want to see. So how far back from today. So if you wanted to go back 10 days and you wanted to see every 1 minute worth of trading over the last 10 days, you would click OK and it would populate that new chart. If you wanted to look at, go under 1 minute time frame again, daily times, but if you wanted to see 10 years back, it's your time interval, and each day over the last 10 years, click OK, and it would show you the last 10 years worth of chart. And if you wanted to change that to max available, so all the time, the entire time that Home Depot has been a publicly traded company, and you want to look back at monthly charts where each bar, each candlestick on your chart represented 1 full month of trading, click OK. Here's your monthly chart on Home Depot, which takes us all the way back to 1985, right? And everything that happened since 1985. So you can see under here, you can customize your time frames. Now, what's really cool is if you have time frames that are your go-to time frames, that you're always looking at these same, handful of time frames. It's a pain in the butt to come under here all the time and go to time frame, choose intraday, choose your time, interval, and then choose your time, aggregation period. It's a pain in the butt to do that, especially if you look at the same time frames all the time. So they have favorites that you can list, and you can customize this list. And if you're like, I never use 1 day, 1 minute charts, just select that one and delete. You might say, yeah, I like looking at 5-minute charts, but I want to customize this. So I'll just double click on it and I want to see a little bit more time. So show me 20 days, last 20 days, 5-minute charts, add that as a favorite. I like 1 year daily. I like 184 hour. I like 20 year 1 hour. I like all these. I don't use 10-day 30 minutes, so just delete that one. I do want to see for my long-term investments a 10-year monthly maybe, right? So come down here, add a time frame, and then customize it. So I'm going to go, I want to see 10 years worth of time. I want those to be monthly charts. I want to add that, and then it adds that as a custom time interval. And then when you apply that, click OK. This now becomes one of your defaults. So it makes it very easy to go from 1 year daily to 3 year weekly to 10-year monthly to 20-day 5-minute. And so you want to customize your favorites to the time frames that make most sense for your frequency of trading, whether you're an intraday trader, weekly income swing trader, or longer term investor. Does that make sense? So that's one thing, customize your time intervals. Second thing, the other thing is you can customize your chart style. So we use candlestick charts. I've always used candlestick charts, give us a lot of data. You could use what are called monkey bars expanded, seasonality charts. You could use bar charts, Heikin-Ashi charts, line charts, area charts. You know, you could use all kinds of different styles of charts. So you choose under chart style, go under you know, your chart type. Choose, I use candle. Of course, you could always go in and say, why am I going to customize each one of these? Let's go ahead and just go to the settings. Let's go to settings, right? And this will bring up all of your chart settings, every one of them. So let's spend some time in here, right? We're at about almost 2 hours here, but let's spend some time in here for a few minutes. So you've got all these tabs across the top. Okay, let's start with general settings for charts. Do you want to show your orders on your chart? This will show you where your orders are. If you do want to show where your orders are on your chart, you could adjust entries and exits off of your chart itself. Then you could show where those orders lie. If they're distracting to you when analyzing charts to show your orders, deselect that, click apply. It won't show your orders anymore. Do you want to show your alerts or not? Or do you want to show a little arrow? I like to show where my alerts are waiting. So I'll keep that and apply that. Show studies. Yep. If you have volume or MACD or RSI or some Bollinger Bands, you can show those studies. Show high and low bubbles, right? So we're talking about these bubbles that are on the chart back here. High 247.36, low 140.63. If you're like, that's distracting to me, get it off my chart. Uncheck that button, click apply. Show me the last price bubble. If you don't care to see the last price bubble, deselect that, hit apply, it goes away. I like to see the last price, but I don't really need highs and lows. I also don't need the symbol logo. I don't need Home Depot's logo there, so I just deselect that, get rid of it, right? Hit apply, it'll get rid of the logo. If you like having the logo there, leave it there, right? Show your trades. I don't like to show that, it's distracting for me. Down below, I don't snap my drawings to any of my candles, so I just leave them free floating when you're drawing trend lines or horizontal lines or any kind of lines on your charts. I don't like them to snap to anything. Choose your time zone. Here's one that I think is critical. I like this one a lot, right? Data box, right? Do you want to see a data box floating around your platform, or do you want to see a fixed data box on your platform? So let me show you what that is. If I apply and click OK, and I hover my cursor, notice this data box pops up. So if I take my cursor and hover it over any one of these candles, it shows me the open, high, low, close, range, and volume for that day, okay? Along with the price that my cursor is hovering over at the top and the date that that candle falls on. So if I want to keep a data box in line and I want to see the information from that day, then absolutely I could keep that data box in place. Let's go back to chart settings again. If I want the data box floating, click apply, and that data box will float with my cursor. So it'll just kind of move around if I'm, but again, that data box is kind of distracting to me for the most part, because this information that you get here, let me turn the data box off and click apply again, can also be found at the very top of the left-hand side of your chart. So I don't need the data box floating around. If I just hover over the cursor, I can look to the top left-hand side when I'm hovering over a particular day or candle, and I can see all the information. I don't need a data box, but if you like the data box, it gives you the option to do so. Anytime you want to draw lines or write on the chart, they give you a lot of drawing features. So you can choose which drawing tool you want to select from here. They give you a bunch of default tools. They also give you at the very bottom right-hand corner of your chart the ability to access those tools as well. But what I really like is I like the ability under chart settings to come down here under My Tools or under the General tab, My Tools. Right now this is turned off, but I like to show on each chart. You can show this as a single panel if you want, but on each chart, apply, okay. Notice a toolbar just showed up at the very top. If I take my cursor off that toolbar, it goes away. But if I hover my cursor up top there again, it comes back. Now, I don't like the hover and it comes back. Take my cursor off, it goes away. So I'm going to click this little pin button and it's going to keep my toolbar at the top. Now what I can do is I can customize this toolbar by clicking on this cog on the far right. And now I can add some tools that I would commonly use. Like I don't use simple moving average, so I'm going to delete that button. I do use trend lines. I do like to write on my charts every now and then. So I want to add a button, and you can add whatever you want. You can add a study. So for instance, if sometimes you like to use Bollinger Bands, sometimes you don't. Maybe you want to take the Bollinger Bands off for most times, but when you want to add them, maybe you'll add a Bollinger Band study. Whoops. All studies should be under Bollinger Bands, right? Bollinger Bands. And you customize your Bollinger Band study, done. And anytime you want to just quickly add Bollinger Bands, just click the button. It says Bollinger Bands, and it'll put your Bollinger Bands right on the charts. And you're like, okay, I don't need you anymore. Just right click anywhere on the Bollinger Bands on your chart and remove that study and they'll go away. But the button doesn't go away up here, so you can add it back just as quick. Unfortunately, if you click it again, it doesn't take the Bollinger Bands away. In fact, it adds another one. So you now have two Bollinger Bands saying the same thing. So we'll delete those Bollinger Bands. But if you use some indicators sometimes, but don't always want them on your charts, this is a great place to keep for like quick draw indicators. So I'm going to click on this cog again, delete my Bollinger Bands, and I'm going to add some drawing tools. I like to use the pan tool. I'll explain what that is in a second. I like to use the pointer tool. I like to use the price level tool, and I like to use my Fibonacci retracement tool. And I like to add my rectangle tool for highlighting things. And eventually you can add so many tools that you run out and they don't let you add anymore. So there is a limit. You can only add, 7 tools at the very top. So be selective, add your 7, click done, and then those tools are always there. And you can quickly go grab a price level tool, right? Say, boom, I want to add a price level, and just left click on your chart and it adds a price level. Now I want to quickly add some notes. So I went and I grabbed the text tool. I start typing away. I hit OK, and it adds text to the chart. I want to grab a trend line, and I want to measure the distance from, top to bottom. Okay, and I can draw a trend line. If I want to draw a rectangle and highlight a particular area, I can highlight a particular area. And what's nice is any one of these drawings that I just arbitrarily drew on the chart, I can now customize even that drawing. So watch this. If that text is not big enough for you, right click on the text, edit properties, and you can change the font size, right? I want it 30 points. I want to use, I don't know, whatever font you want to use, right? Battlestar, why not? I want it in bold or italic, whatever you want to call it. Display just one line, and then you hover and it shows the rest if it's too much text. So you can customize it, and now look, you got whatever custom text you want. Now, if you go to add the text again, it goes back to your default. So here's what you do. If you want this text, which is now Battlestar 30 points, right click, edit properties, save as default. This button down here will save this format for text as default. So now when you go to add new text, click on text, click anywhere on the chart, type, click OK. It's your default setting, right? So any of these that you want to customize, like for instance, if you don't like a yellow highlighted box, right click on the box that you've drawn, edit properties. Maybe you want it to be purple and you want to save that as your default. Click OK. Next time you draw a box, it's going to be purple. Okay. Trend line. Let's say you want to customize your trend line. Right click, edit properties. You can customize your trend line, right? You can look at a label. You can, meaning show your label position always. So what that means is it'll show a little data box. So you can always show it, or you can show it only when you hover. There's a lot of neat little tricks that you can do to really customize your trend lines in here and save it as a default if that's how you like it. Price levels, right? Right click. This is just a solid, it's not a trend line, it's just a horizontal price level. Customize the color, the style, if you want it dashed, small dash lines, how thick you want your line. Do you want the extension to go to the right? Do you want your extension completely turned off? Do you want your extension to the left, or do you want that extension turned off? So basically what that means is if you just take your price level, left click, and draw to the right, it's extending out to the right automatically, indefinitely, because that's how I have mine customized. Right click, edit properties. If I turn that extension off, it's only going to go from point to point. And then to make it longer, you'd have to actually physically make it longer yourself, okay? To change the value of any one of these, to change how big your horizontal square is, or how long your trend line is, or if you dropped it in the wrong place, right click on that tool, on that drawing, activate drawing, and now it lets you change anything about it. Right click, activate, it lets you change the size. Right click, activate, it lets you change anything about it, okay? So anything that you've drawn on your charts, you can change it, activate it. You can grab a new tool up here, and I like the quick draw toolbox right up top. And so that can be done within your chart settings. It's called My Tools, and I want them on each chart. Now, before we go further, let's go ahead and right click anywhere on the chart and clear the drawing set. Just get rid of those drawings, okay? And that clears everything off. Let's go back into chart settings. Now, let's go under price axis. Under price axis, a couple things I like to go ahead and scale. Number one, I like the scale to be automatic, okay? I want you to fit all of my drawings within the confines of the chart that I have chosen. So one thing that I like to do is I like to leave a little white space at the very top of my chart. And I like to leave a little white space below the bottom of my chart. And I use the expansion area to do that. Now, what I do is I leave 10% up and 10% on the bottom. So watch what happens when I apply this. I'm looking for space above the highest price and space below the lowest price. And the amount of space I'm giving it is 10%. So when I click on the apply button, notice it kind of shrunk everything, but it gives me some white space above and below. You can manually scale this chart, right? And drag it up and down. You can go on the horizontal price axis and zoom in and zoom out, okay? And really get a nice view of this. But if you're zoomed in and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened to my chart. It's a really quick feature to go back up to this menu with this sort of squirrely little sideways S, with these two arrows pointing at one another. Left click on that, click auto, and then it auto scales back, giving you 10% above and 10% below. It's a really nice feature to get back to if you zoom in, and it didn't scale the way you liked it, right? Awesome, Lewis, love it, I love it. So we're back on price axis again. You can kind of customize different features relative to the price axis, which is the horizontal axis. I'm sorry, the vertical axis. The time axis is the horizontal axis, right? So here you can, again, adjust your time intervals, your aggregation periods. I want to see my corporate actions. I don't really care about, options on a price chart. I don't want to see rollover lines. I don't care about that personally. I don't really care to see expiration Friday. I know when that is. I don't need to see year marking lines. And the purpose for me deleting these and not showing these is it just kind of cleans up the chart and gives you the information that you really need to see, not cluttering it up with a whole bunch of, stuff. So check it if you want to see it, uncheck it if you don't. One thing I will say too is, in addition to wanting to see 10% above and below the highest and the lowest price on a chart, I also want to see some white space to the far right of my chart to be able to visualize the possibility of price going up or down or staying the same. I want to see that white space to the side. So you can choose your expansion area, which I always generally choose about 20 to 30 bars to the right. So 25 bars to the right gives you a little expansion area. If you only want to see 10 bars to the right, apply. It gives you 10 bars to the right. If you see 100 bars to the right, then you're seeing way too much. You're not seeing any information, right? So under the time axis, I always go about 25 bars to the right, which gives me some space to the right, but it allows me to, again, visualize what could possibly happen in the future by showing me that potential white space to the right. If all you're seeing is price smacked up against the hard right edge, you can't really visualize what could happen in the future. It's impossible. You can't really do it. It's like, hey, we're smack up against the edge. This wall is keeping us confined. There's nowhere for price to go. But by expanding that a bit, you give yourself the possibility for prices to be higher or lower. It doesn't mean prices will be higher or lower, but it visually exposes the many possibilities for the future. So I like that. Another thing that does is when you have your corporate actions selected, right? Notice if I deselect it or select it, what it'll do is it'll show us these little icons at the bottom of the chart. So this is a stock, it's Home Depot. It shows us that if I hover over it, Home Depot has earnings coming up on 5/19 before the market opens. This tells me all the past earnings results, what the earnings estimates were, what the actual earnings were. And so this gives us a warning that we've got some corporate event coming up. And why is this important? Because corporate events like earnings and dividend and stock splits could affect the price of the stock negatively against your position. So you want to know when they're coming up so you have a warning that it's time to manage your position, right? And that's under chart settings. You've got your favorite time frames, which we already started to customize a little bit earlier. Your appearance. Oh, I like this box. This appearance box is beautiful because it allows us to, again, choose our chart type, okay, which I use candle, customize your colors of your charts, right? So if you want to fill your candles, right? So right now the red is filled in red. If you want to fill in the green, and it'll look like this. Notice when you check it, it gives you a sample of what it would look like here. It doesn't change it on the actual chart till you hit apply, right? So maybe you like to see full color candles. I don't know why you wouldn't want to show the wicks, but if you didn't want to show the wicks, you could deselect those, but I would always want to do that. You could choose what type of cursor, what color the cursor is. Your volume bars, you could make them the same color as the symbol itself. I mean, of the bar itself. So if it was an up day, if it was a green day, then the volume would be colored in green. If it was a red down day, then the volume would be colored in red. One thing that I don't like to see is this very light dotted grid in the background, very light dotted grid. I don't like to see that. I like a clean white background personally. So I'm just going to uncheck grid and apply it. And it just takes that away. You might like to change your background color. You might want to see a light gray background. I don't know. It's whatever's best for your eyes. You can choose a red background for all that the platform cares. If you want to make everything red, I mean, that hurts, but you can change and customize your background color and get a visual representation. Say, okay, so now it's starting to look a lot cleaner. I like this. How do we get rid of these volume bars, right? So volume bars show up in several different places. This is a question from one of the members here. So if I go back under chart settings, okay, the appearance allows us to, change the color of the charts and all that stuff, clean up the background. But when you go under equities, options, futures, and forex, this is where you can get specific per asset class. So start with equities. Because this is a stock, we'll go with HD first, Home Depot. We can show or not show corporate actions, right? So if I don't want to show them at all, I just uncheck that box. If I want to show them, I check it back, good to go. I don't need to show options on here because I'm going to pull my options from my Analyze tab. But if you want to show extended hours trading, you could show that. If you want to remove that, you can remove that. That's good for intraday charts. And here's the button you're looking for, Petra. Show volume subgraph. So under equities, it's checked. So check that, click apply, it goes away. Okay. Now, what if I go to a futures chart? It's there again. Oh, that pesky volume, right? So what do I got to do? I got to go to chart settings, futures, show volume subgraph, deselect it, click apply, it goes away. Right? Here's where for futures, I do want to see extended hours. I do want to see the overnight Globex. I don't need to necessarily see contract change events, meaning the rollover date. I don't need to see that. It's represented as a vertical line here. I don't really need to see that. So I would apply and just get rid of those vertical lines personally. And I don't visually like the platform to highlight my extended trading hours. And what that would look like is if you went to an hourly chart, it would look like this. I don't like that. You might like it because maybe easily it shows you, where the overnight session is versus the US session. You might like that. But I don't personally like that. So that's a personal preference there. So back in chart settings, futures, I'm not going to highlight my extended trading hours, right? So I'm just going to leave it all my same color background. Adjust price for contract changes or not. Show options, last price deal, all this stuff. So forex, if you want to get rid of all your volume, just get rid of all your volume, go across all your asset classes. If you want to never show extended hours trading, go across all asset class and deselect, highlight it, all that. And then that will start to really clean up your charts. Okay. Is that looking a lot better to you? Really clean. Looking better to me. Okay. Now, what other things might we want to do to these charts? We might want to add an indicator or two. You might want to put ATR on your chart. You might want to put a MACD or an RSI. Well, how do you do that? Okay. You go up under either one of these buttons, right? We got two beakers up here. One lets you just add a study. So if you already know you want to add a quick study, if you already know you want to add a momentum indicator, went away. Quick study, momentum study, and then it's alphabetical. If you already know you want to add MACD, just add MACD, and it'll do that for you, right? If you already know you want to add a quick study and you want to add, let's see, John Pearson's or Person's pivots, you could do that. And it just adds it really quickly. Now, another thing but what I like to do is I like to go in and customize everything. So I'm going to click on this beaker over here, which is still a study button, but then it brings up all the studies and you can see what you have listed already. And you can add or remove. So if we delete all the studies and apply, it'll delete all the studies. Then we can go in and add. So I personally like to add, I use MACD. So I just typed in MACD, or if you like RSI, you could scroll down to the R's, or you could just type in RSI. Okay, RSI. And then you would come down here and add selected, and it adds it over here. Now it doesn't show up on the chart yet till you click apply. If you want to change the settings to RSI, you can do that here as well by hovering over, going all the way to the cog, which is a settings, and you could change the settings, right? You might want overbought at 60. You might want oversold at 40. You might want your lines to be thicker. You might want, kind of thicker lines there. In which case you would okay and apply, and then everything becomes a little bit more bold. You customize that however you want. You can customize the colors and everything. So if that's what it is, then you want to save that, and that's a chart that you always want to reference back to. Then what I would suggest doing is go under Style. Once you've created the perfect chart, go under Style, and you want to save this style. Okay, you want to save it as my chart. Whatever. Include patterns and studies, which would include your RSI, and click Save. Now, why do I want to do that? Because no matter what computer you go on, no matter if you're on your mobile device, a laptop, you go to a coffee shop, you go to your sister or brothers or mothers or sister, whoever's house, you're on a different laptop, you go to the office, you've built your charts at home, and now you want your perfect, beautiful chart to look at when you're away from home. When you pull up for the first time, your Thinkorswim here, it's going to look like this again, which is your default. You're like, that's not my beautiful chart. Oh, but I've saved my beautiful, perfect chart. So I go under Style, Load Style, My Chart, and then boom, your beautiful chart's back, just like that, right? You don't have to go through the setup process again, okay? So once you have your beautiful, perfect chart, save it. If you make any changes to it, so let's, for instance, say that you wanted to add implied volatility, right? You want to add an implied volatility chart. Now, at Traders Army, we use a custom implied volatility tool, which I've already done. Pro members, you already have access to this tool. I have a video on how to import this custom tool. So I won't do that here, but if you apply that, now we can see the study down below, right? So you're like, oh, now that I'm an option trader, I need that tool. And I have that tool that shows us the range of implied volatility, but I want that to be a part of my beautiful, perfect chart. Then you got to go back up and save it again. So save style one more time, include patterns and study set, same name if you want, click save. Yes, I know that start style already exists. I've named it. I'm just replacing my old one with my new beautiful perfect chart, which now includes implied volatility. Okay. Comment from Melanie in the chat box. You could also have your save chart style if you want to have multiple charts and do not have to set up each appearance. Exactly. So you'll see, because I've already done it, I've got broad market comparison studies. I've got, multiple chart styles that I like to see. And this would allow you to see multiple, saved settings without having to really continuously set all this stuff up and take all that time. Now, let's talk about Chuck Fulkerson and his grid. And by the way, I think Petra, was it you who was asking, or was it somebody was asking, how do I get my charts to look like Chuck's? Nice and simple and sweet. Somebody was asking about that. Now we're starting to get a little bit more, simple and sweet, right? So here's what you do. You saved your chart style. Now you're ready to build a grid. This was a question from a member yesterday through email. Now up at the very top here, right now, there's a box, there's a little drop-down menu. It's just showing one box, okay? But notice if I expand this menu, this is going to expose a selection tool that allows you to build a grid of the same size boxes, right? Same size charts. So what Chuck has on his is he has a grid of 4, right? So now notice we've got 4 on the grid. If you wanted to choose, all 12, you could put all 12 in one big grid, but Chuck has his set up as 4, right? You could do 2, you could do as many as you wanted. You could do all the way up to, hell, this many, however many that is, right? That's a little overkill though, so we'll go with the 4. This is how you create your grid. So the way that, I set this up and the way that Chuck sets his up is, we have the S&P 500. We have the NASDAQ. Chuck has crude oil down here, and he has gold down here. Of course, you can put whatever symbols you wanted down here. But look at that ugly chart. That's the default chart. I don't want that default ugly chart to the right. What exactly do I want to see over here? I want to see my beautiful chart. So now you got to go over here and you got to click this chart style. Load the style that is your beautiful chart. I want to see my chart, and I want to see that in every one. Chart style, load style, my chart. Chart style, load style, my chart. Okay, so now that my chart is saved in each one, and this is a little busy because we have, a bunch of studies on each one. I may not have all these studies on mine, but again, you customize your one chart and then build it inside the grid. So now we got 4 different charts. You can make them all the same time frame of chart or all different time frames, however you want to do it. It could be the same market, like we did flexible grid a little bit earlier. It could be the same market, different size, different time frames, however you want it. You could customize this as well. But once you have your grid built, now you have your perfect, beautiful grid, and you want to be able to recall this grid at any time from any computer. What do? Well, just like we saved chart styles, we want to go up here back to this grid that we selected how many squares to see. And we want to save this grid as. Now, if you save this grid as, you'll have to enter a grid name, and then you could just say, I'm just going to call this grid 1, right? Or, as Chuck has it, it's ES. You could label it. What do you have in this? Right? ES, NQ, CL, GC. That's what I have in this grid. Save. Now, once you have all of that saved, even if you go back to a single chart and you go back to a broad market comparison chart that shows, stuff that's overlaid. I have a video on setting up broad market comparison charts on tradersarmy.com as well, right? But all these you'll customize and save. So it's just an instant recall, okay? If you say, okay, now I want to go see my grid with S&P, NASDAQ, crude oil, and gold. Just go back up here, show whichever grid. It's going to display all of your, it's going to display all of your saved grids, and this is the one that we want. Boom. So it brings it back with your beautiful chart, and this will give you your grid that'll allow you to save and come back to that grid as often as you want. So Chuck will have this grid. He'll have copper. He'll have nat gas. If you're looking at soybeans, and maybe you're looking at bonds, ZN, right? So that's another grid. So now that you've got this grid, come back up, save grid as, name it whatever you want, save it, and then that's going to show up under here as one of your saved grids, okay? You can save as many grids or as many chart styles as you want. Most are only going to have a handful of chart styles. You can see if I just go back to one chart, so I'm going to choose the grid, go back to one chart. That just gives me my one. And if I really want to look at, not my beautiful, perfect chart, but if I want to look at my broad market comparison, load style, broad market comparison. If I'm done looking at a broad market comparison, percentage comparison chart, and I just want to go back to price only, I have a price only chart. It leaves all the indicators off. But if I want to go back to my perfect, beautiful chart with my beautiful indicators on it, I go back to my chart, and there she is, right? It makes it really easy to recall. And the best part is, once you save them like that, you can recall them from any machine you want without having to reset up everything again, okay? Clearing all of your drawings off is as easy as right-clicking on the chart, clearing them off. If one thing I didn't show you, and then we'll start to wrap up here. It's been almost 2.5 hours, right? And then we'll wrap up. I'll be done in 5 minutes. Can you guys take the next 5 minutes of this, or 4 minutes now? Guys, take the next 4 minutes of this? What if I want to set up an alert, right? I want to set up an alert, and I say, okay, the S&P is in, this range right now on an hourly chart. It's in a triangle. I'm not going to do anything on this until it breaks out of this range. Alert me if price goes above the range or below the range, so I can start looking at, some potential trades. You might say, alert me if prices get to, 28.13 or somewhere near 28.13, where I have some, demand down here. Right click on the chart. I like to do it, I like to right click in the general vicinity of where I want to place the alert. So right click, scroll down, create alert. Just want to do a single alert. That's it. And now you can customize it. Let me know if prices are at or below, and you can customize your price here, 28.14.50. You can put a note and say, I just want to know so I can trade. Type whatever you want in there. Create that alert. And then because we earlier in the session, we said, I want to see where my alerts are. It's going to show us where the alert is. Okay. What happens if you click this X? If you click the X, it doesn't just hide the alert. It cancels the alert, right? If you want to hide the alert and they're distracting, you have to go back in your chart settings and under alerts here, under general, do not show alerts. Apply it and it gets rid of it. The alert is still working. How do we know that? Market watch tab, alerts. Here's my ES M20 if it trades below. Now, why did I bother typing that note in? Because if it sends you, because in your application settings, you have your notifications. If it's designed to send you a text or a email, then not only will it send you the alert, it'll send you the note that goes along with the alert. So it'll remind you why you set that doggone alert in the first place. And so I like to put a little note with that, okay? If you are showing your alerts and you know that you're like, hey, listen, this alert, I don't really care about it anymore. If you click the X, it'll cancel the alert and now it's gone, right? It won't alert you anymore. So that is, gosh, man, that's kind of a lot, right? But that's kind of it's big. It's 2.5 hours, think or swim tutorial, right? But I hope it is recorded. It is recorded. And so I knew this would be one that you would probably want to go back and review. Hopefully that you found some new tips or tricks or features or functionality that you can start to use to customize your platform that much more. And what's nice about this is when you close the platform for the day, it's going to auto save a lot of these settings. So when you pull it back up, it'll pull the platform back up the way that you left it. And if for some reason it doesn't pull it back up the way you left it, as long as you're in the habit of saving your chart styles, saving your grid styles, saving your tools as a default tool settings, right? Then everything is easily recallable. That's a word. You can recall everything, and that'll make it easy to get you back to exactly how you want to look at, so you can get on with analyzing and building trades and trading versus tinkering around with your platform, which we all know can eat up a whole ton of time. So this recording is going to be available just as soon as I bounce it down and render it and upload it. I'm going to post it under free trading videos. So if you're new to Traders Army, where will you be able to find that? You will be able to find that. So if I'm on the home page, okay, if I'm on the home page, I go under Learn, On-Demand Courses, Free Trading Videos, and you just have to be a free member. So for all of you guys who are pro members watching and attending live with me, you guys have access to all of this. But for those, if you're following us on YouTube and you want to check it out, you just have to be a free member. Of course, we welcome you as a pro member if you think we're a good fit for you. But when I post this down, it's going to be all the way down here at the bottom next to Justin's trade review session from 5/2. So that's where I'm going to post it. And so, yeah, it'll be there. Let's see. I do have one question. In the trade tab, when I only enter one trade, it won't let me add another. Let me see. So you're in the trade tab. So under trade, not analyze, but trade, right, Petra? Seema, the order entry stuff, because all this platform setup took a couple of hours, 2.5 hours, I'm going to do some more individual order entry videos that I'll also post. So I'm going to do more order entry type videos. We have some order entry videos already, but there's a few that I want to customize a little bit deeper. So I'm going to be doing separate order entry videos. I figured that would probably be the best plan of attack, because this was just really, I kind of thought that I might be able to get to order entry, but now that I've taken 2.5 hours to go through the whole platform, I realize now that was, that would take us another 1.5 hours, right? So I'll do them in bite-sized chunks and post them. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So if you're in the trade tab, Petra, understand that if you're under an option trade, and I'm just going to, go to, Apple for a second, and let's go with, let's say you're doing a bull call spread, and you hold your control key down, and it sets up your bull call spread, right? Down here, the reason it's not going to let you set up another trade, and by the way, I'm not sure why you would want to set up another trade necessarily right now, unless what you're trying to do is send multiple trades on the same vehicle at once. Is that what you're trying to do? Is send multiple trades at the same time after you click confirm and send? Is that what you're trying to do? So add the other leg. So if I went in, let me read your question again. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. So check this out. So you're doing an iron condor. You're building an iron condor, right, Petra? You want to build the iron condor. Gotcha. So, okay. I'm just going to choose random strikes. Iron condor is 2 credit spreads. And by the way, the order in which you place these doesn't actually even matter. So let's go with, I'm going to go with the anchor leg, short put 285. I'm not even holding the control key down. I just hit that. But I do want to hold the control key down from now on. Let's go out to the offset leg in the bull put. Click on the 280s. Boom. There's my vertical bull put spread. Keep holding the control key down when you go out to your anchor leg. And let's say the anchor leg of the bear call spread is 325. Boom. Now it added the 325. So it's a custom trade. And now I want to go to the offset leg while holding down the control key still. I haven't taken my finger off this thing. Go for the 330 offset, and it builds the iron condor. So yeah, that control key is going to, as long as you keep holding it down, it's just going to add. So you start to go here. Well, actually, I guess you can't have more than 4 legs. So, but whatever combination of 4 legs you want, hit that control key and hold it down, and it'll just continue to stack upon stack upon stack to create whatever it is that you wanted to trade. And then down here under advanced orders, this is the stuff that I'll get to in later order entry videos. You would be able to, this is going down on my other screen here. You'd be able to say, I want to choose a sequence of orders. First triggers OCO, so bracket orders. You can bracket. You can do all kinds of custom order entry in here. So we'll get to that stuff in another tutorial, but more time than I allotted is up. So thanks for sticking around, 2.5 hours strong. I am going to break this up into probably at least 2, maybe 4 different bite-size sections. Part 1 of 4, part 2 of 4, so I'll probably break it up probably into a bunch of different sections. So that's how it'll be listed on YouTube almost positively. So I'll probably do that on the website as well. So thanks for being here, you guys. Glad it was a great refresher. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you're brand new to Thinkorswim, hopefully this will get you a really great head start. As great as their own tutorials are, it's a lot of times great to set it up in the context of the community that you're operating in. So being that you're operating in the Traders Army community, this is how we like to set up our stuff. So if you have any questions, as always, text us. Phone numbers at the top left of the website. Email us, support@tradersarmy.com, and we're happy to help in every way that we can. So I'll get some order entry videos up sooner than later, guys. Take care, and we'll see y'all later. Bye now.